Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for choosing our session to come to. My name is Amy Epperley. I'm the Senior Director of Hokie Wellness at Virginia Tech. And so I have the wonderful privilege to lead a team of well-being and public health professionals. And I'm joined with a member of my team and some colleagues that we work with in human resources this morning for this panel discussion. And so I kind of wanted to take a moment just to allow us to arrive in this space. And so I'm going to walk us through a little mindfulness exercise. And so if you have a mindfulness practice, or if you've heard of mindfulness, it is this idea of present moment awareness on purpose. We're making a choice to be present, and it's without judgment. So if you're comfortable, I would like you to close your eyes. If that feels not comfortable, you can just allow your vision to soften, perhaps find a gaze on the chair in front of you. Just take a few deep breaths here. There's a lot of energy in this space, this wonderful opportunity to learn this morning. Perhaps notice that in your body. And then notice what it feels like to have your feet resting on the floor in front of you. Allow your awareness to settle to your body, making contact with the chair. And then perhaps you can even begin to notice the coolness of the air on your skin. See if you can let your morning go. Maybe you can let anything else you have to do this afternoon go. Carving out the next 50 minutes for your learning, for your self-care. And then take one last moment here and think about one thing in this moment that you're grateful for. What is it that brings you joy? What is it that brings you happiness? And then when you feel ready, just slowly begin to open your eyes. Okay. So our presenters are going to take a moment and introduce themselves. So we'll start with Anna Agud.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anna Agud. I am the Work-Life Program Manager with Hokie Wellness. The wellness program at Virginia Tech, I do employee wellness. I came to Virginia Tech from a healthcare management system in North Carolina 13 years ago. So it's amazing to me how quickly time has flown. And I hope that you find a tidbit or two that you can take away from today's presentation that will help you.
Thanks, Anna. My name's Ashley Carter. I'm the Community Engagement Recruitment Specialist on the Talent Acquisition Team in the Division of HR at Virginia Tech. I have a really long title, and I wear a lot of fun hats. I kind of have a unique perspective, and some of you might find this relatable. I'm a Hokie grad. I started out in a wonderful career, had the opportunity to stay home with my children for a long time, took a pause, stayed current in volunteer hours and involved in my community, and then slowly decided to go back into the workforce. So I took baby steps, working part-time in recruiting, and then had the opportunity to come into this role about 2 years ago. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit about self-promotion, interview, and resume prep, and I also hope that you can gather maybe a couple different fun facts and information to apply to your career journey.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Drier. I am one of the talent development specialists at Virginia Tech. Of course, my career did not start off that way. I started off working in retail. I worked retail for 13 years. If anybody remembers Borders Bookstore, that's what I did. I was a bookseller. So this time of the year is both happy and grateful that I'm not doing that. Every once in a while, though, I get this inkling, like, maybe I should, part-time job. No, staying away. So that's where I started off my career. I learned a lot of my skills in that space, but I touch and go to community college. I did not really enjoy my community college experience, didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. So Borders went defunct, and I had to find a job. So I went to a temp agency for help, and I found a position within a group that did third-party benefit insurance. So learned a little bit there and said, you know what, I need to go back to school because I really need to make that transition pretty easily. So I went back to a college. I was in North Carolina and made that transition. So I worked full-time with the company that I was with, and did full-time school at the same time. I should probably mention that I was a single mother, too. I'm not saying, hey, I wore a cape. I'm saying I was stressed out for several years. And I roomed with somebody who could help a little bit, because it takes a village. It always takes a village. So luckily, the college I went to had a peer-to-peer mentoring program, which allowed me to bleed out my angst and stress as I was building up my skills again. That translated into doing some of the internships with that degree, moving into higher education, and shifted. So worked for UNC Greensboro as a coordinator, and then moved up to where I am now, and then got recruited to Virginia Tech about 5 years ago. So made a shift.
So each of these ladies are going to dive a little bit deeper into their areas that they prepared to talk about. And we will have time for a Q&A at the end of the session today, so please be thinking about questions for that Q&A.
Right, I am going to get us started on your story, your pathway, and talk about self-care or treating yourself. Self-care has been a buzzword for some time now, and it may have lost its true meaning for a lot of us. So what does self-care mean to you? Just call out a few things. What does self-care mean to you? Time for you, okay. Spa, okay. Yoga, okay, great.
Learning to put yourself first amongst other things.
All right, good answers. Pardon? Okay, that's better. So what self-care is, it promotes and ensures and restores psychological and physical health. It prevents and manages disease and trauma. But most importantly for us, it achieves a sense of well-being, especially during times of stress. So the takeaway here is that it's something we should do on a regular, sustainable basis so that we can prevent the ill effects of stress, but so we can also have the tools when those times come around where we're feeling especially stressed. Sustainable is the key word there. So let's talk about stress and ways you currently deal with stress. We don't want to think about those ways that you deal with stress as being inherently good or bad, but let's do a non-judgmental and honest inventory about what you do when you're stressed. So think about some things that you do when you're stressed. Just go through your mind and think about some things you do when you're stressed and see if any of them appear on the screen. So these are common coping strategies. We're probably familiar with maybe 1, 2, or 3 of them. Netflix, music, journaling. Sometimes food is a way that we feel better during times of stress. You know, sometimes talking to a friend, playing with our pets, spa activities, even taking a drink every now and then is a way to decompress after stressful events. But we don't want to demonize these events. Then none of them are inherently bad, but they can be ineffective or problematic because they don't address the issues underlying the reasons we're using these coping skills. So they give us immediate gratification. They take away the problem right at the moment, but they're easy to overindulge. So these are used often as a Band-Aid, and they don't allow us to set the boundaries that we need to set around the actual tool that we're using. So the other aspect about using these and the fact that they can be overindulged is that they may harm other aspects of your wellness. So, you know, let's say you shop a little bit too much online. It could affect your financial wellness. So we have to put boundaries around all our coping skills. So how do we know if our coping skills are effective? So I want you to pick one of your coping skills and ask yourself these 5 questions. So we often say, I've earned it. This is my reward. You know, how many times have we said that to ourselves? If you take anything away from this presentation today that I'm giving, it's this: self-care is not something you earn, okay? We all deserve time to take care of ourselves. So if you feel like your current coping skills might be more treat yourself because you feel like you have to hammer your way through Monday through Friday and then earn your reward on the weekend, then you're not developing a good self-care skill, you're more treating yourself. So sustainable means that you can practice or you can participate in your self-care activity over and over and over again, and it feels good and effective every time. Does it reduce the symptoms of stress every time as well for a significant duration of time? Or is it just an immediate feel-good response? Does it contribute to your overall wellness? Are all aspects of your well-being being taken care of? And then, are you really present? So if you're working out, are you really there working out? Or are you thinking about all the things you have to do on your to-do list, what you have to do when you get home, the load of laundry that's waiting for you, the dishwasher that needs to be unloaded, or are you there in the gym really working out? And lastly, are you really doing it for you? Does it really matter to you? Could you do this self-care act and not tell anyone about it? Or do you need to tell someone, or do you need to post it on social media? If it comes from you because you truly enjoy it and it's not rooted in external validation, then it's a true self-care act. So I want you to think about the coping skill that you picked and see if you have more yes answers or no answers. And if the majority of your answers are no, you might be treating yourself more than creating a true self-care act. What coping skills didn't pass the test? So let's wrap up with some tips that can be helpful in developing an effective, sustainable care practice. So you want to follow a plan, and at the end of this, my presentation, I have a QR code that will take you to a self-care plan where you can write out a self-care plan that you can follow. You want to use your social support. One of the things that's really great is to get a friend, get someone that you can do a plan with, and have an accountability buddy. Have somebody that you can go to and say, I am or I am not following my self-care plan, help me out. Take a couple of minutes to check in with yourself daily. Just stop for a minute and give yourself a check and say, okay, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Or am I treating myself? And then most of all, focus on what you can control. You know, a lot of our stress comes from focusing on the past and things that we may have done or ruminating about the future. So focus on what you can control. So here's the QR code with the tiny URL. And I hope you will take this form and take some time to fill it out and follow your self-care plan.
Right, so we're all stressed out. I'm just gonna grab, I have paper notes. I can get into paper notes.
Oh, I have it.
Yeah. We did a switcheroo on computer, and Anna is,
Here you go.
oh, well, I got it here too. Okay. So I have notes because I get a little stressed out too, right? Thank you, Anna, so much. I'm Ashley, as we said. I'm the recruitment specialist. But before I start jumping into giving you some tips and best practices, I want you guys to stop and take out your phone or a piece of paper, right? We got this wonderful self-care plan. I want you to actually put time on your calendar to do it, right? It's taking time. I guess I should be up closer, sorry. It's taking time to actively fill this out, to show that we are dedicating time to ourselves. And I think that that is vital to taking care of who we are, right? We can't be a better mother. We can't be a good sister. We can't be a great daughter. We can't be a good wife or partner or coworker if we're not taking care of ourselves mentally and physically. So I think Anna's self-care plan is vital. I did that this morning. I literally plugged out time on my work calendar to do this on Wednesday morning, right before Thanksgiving, right? To be thankful for myself. So take some time, do that, block off time for you. All right. I'm gonna jump into elevating your career journey, right? So we've worked on ourselves mentally, physically. We're making sure that we're as healthy as we can be. Let's make sure that we're healthy in our career journey as well. But before we do that, I have some questions for you guys, and I'd love for you to raise your hand because I'm curious who's in the room today. So if you just want to, you can just quietly raise your hand. Who here is actively in the workforce? So a lot of folks. Who here is looking to advance their career, looking to take that next step? Who's happy in the role that they're in right now? Yeah, that's okay too, right? Maybe you are fresh or green and are just getting your toes deep, into the sand in your current career path, or you're young and you are just taking a journey into the workforce. Anyone? Fresh, new, kind of, sort of? Yeah, cool. How many of you are currently or have taken a break due to helping a loved one or taking time out for yourself, right? Having the capability. That's great. Okay, so I just wanted to get a feel so when I'm talking, I can kind of understand where everyone is, because I feel like we are limited on time and I can literally talk about this for hours because I think everyone's situation is so unique. But I have one more big question for you. How many of you struggle to show your skills and accomplishments? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Many women, many humans find it difficult to promote or talk about themselves. We undervalue, we downplay our achievements, and we don't want to be considered a show off, right? We don't want to be boastful. But it's kind of a good thing. Unfortunately, though, we were taught at a really young age to downplay our emotions, right, as women, to make sure that we're caregivers, to make sure we're including others in our achievements. Oh, yeah, I did a great job, but I had the help of my amazing team, right? I'm not going to sit here and take credit for everything. I have other folks that were there. I'm downplaying my accomplishments. It's ingrained in you. We all do it. And just like in this room, it doesn't matter what stage of life you're in, we're all still feeling that, right? So I'm hoping we can maybe today start focusing and promoting ourselves a little bit more, focusing on our self-care, taking time to recognize all the awesome things that we do and have done. So we're going to talk about self-promotion first before we dive in. I don't know if many of you are familiar with Jenna Kutcher. Some of you might be. She's an Instagram sensation. She has this great quote: "The secret to success isn't how hard you work, it's whether or not you believe you are worthy of being successful or not." Jenna started her business by buying a camera off of Craigslist and created a photography business. That photography business has evolved and morphed into an online presence. She's a podcaster, she's an author, she's a speaker, and she's a multimillionaire at this point. Her business, right, has evolved. But if you listen to a lot of her podcast postings and a lot of her topics and interviews with other women, they all revolve around confidence and her lack of confidence, or her inability to feel that she's achieved something or been successful. So obviously she is, right? She's doing great in life, but she still has those same feelings. So today, we're going to sit here and work on acknowledging our discomfort, being uncomfortable, but recognizing our achievements, and you've done more than you realize. I have some studies and some facts I just wanted to share real quick. Did you know that most women do not even apply for a promotion having 8 out of 10 qualifications, where their male counterparts might only show 3 and be able to check off 3 boxes? They are 2 times more likely to apply for a bigger job, to ask for that promotion than a woman is, right? It's uncomfortable for us to toot our own horns, to recognize ourselves. Those women they're just choosing to not do it because of that. Also, there was a recent study that more than half of all working women believed they were overlooked for a promotion because they thought that others thought that they were too modest, reluctant to be clear and direct of their qualifications, and that they would come across as being braggadocious, boastful, right? That's half of all working women. It's the reason that they feel that they're getting overlooked for a promotion. And lastly, this was a really interesting study done by this small company called Google. I don't know if many of you know about them, but at Google, this is kind of a cool thing, kind of, as women. I don't know. I would probably feel a little uncomfortable about it too. But at Google, advancement depends on people nominating themselves for promotion. They ask their employees to nominate themselves. We see where this is going, obviously. Google noticed and took a stand on this, that most of the women that worked for them were not doing this. And so they instituted a training program in their professional development to teach women how to self-promote and how to self-nominate and to push out the judgment and barrier of others. They taught their women, their female employees, that they were important and valued and that they needed to recognize that too. And once that stigma went away and that discomfort level, right, these women were able to self-promote. They nominated themselves for promotions, and it increased drastically of the promotion rate, the self-nomination rate of women versus men at Google. I thought that was kind of cool. A huge company like that trying to recognize and take care of their employees and meeting them where they are. So, this is a huge slide. Do not read all of these words. We were talking about accessibility. I don't wear glasses and can barely read this. So, that is not the point of this slide. The point of this slide is diving into our master resume. We're gonna jump in and we're gonna start collecting and talking about our achievements with our resume, right? It looks long, and it should be. I have notes, sorry about that. I like to call my master resume my brag board. We as women are really hard at sitting here talking about our achievements. You need to brag about yourself. And you need to remind yourself of all the wonderful, positive, amazing things that you've done. So what I like to do is I like to have a running resume. Because honestly, I don't remember what I did 6 months ago, right? I might have worked on a project at work and it was super instrumental. If I'm not writing that down, I don't remember those fine little details. I don't remember how many folks. I don't remember maybe the numbers that increased by, right? Everybody loves metrics at work. So this sits on my personal computer and I make notes to it. This is Hokie Birds. I just made a Hokie Bird resume, by the way. This is not my resume. But I make notes. I keep a running list of every accomplishment and everything that I've done. I also do it for volunteering. I do it for nonprofit work. If I sit on a board, I am very active in my children's PTO. Heck yeah, that's on there because that's who I am and I'm proud of what I've done. So if you're not sitting here reminding yourself of your accomplishments and keeping a note of it, it's hard when the time comes that you want that promotion or you want to sit there and apply for a new job or take your career to the next level, right? This is your opportunity to be able to reference it. So I highly recommend creating a brag board or a resume. You can do it however you want. I just keep it in a resume format because I think that that's the easiest way for my mind to work. It can be long. We hear all these stories about how resumes should only be, 1 page or 2 pages. We'll get into all of that. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of a resume. But you need to keep it relevant. You need to remember your accomplishments and achievements. It's a safe place to brag about yourself, to start building your confidence up. Sorry, I'm a little nervous, if you can't tell. So I think that the 2 biggest takeaways of that, you don't want to forget what you've done, even if it's tiny, and you want to remind yourself of everything that you've done. So that's why you need your brag board out. Bullet points, recommendations, anything like that. Please make sure that you're documenting everything. And then that takes you to how to craft your ideal, perfect, awesome resume, right? Recruiters are only spending 6 to 10 seconds, 30 seconds if you're really lucky, on your resume. It's not much time. So that brag board, which is great, is too long. It's too much for a recruiter to look at. So we're gonna kind of sit here and talk a little bit more about getting the nitty-gritty details. And this is where we come into a clean format with ample space, sticking to around 2 pages, measurable accomplishments, keywords, transferable skills, proofread. We're gonna dive a little bit deeper. Those are like 6 main tips for any resume. I don't know if most of us are old enough. Can you see Michael Scott? It's a little blurry, I apologize. This is Michael Scott's resume. This is just a banker sample example resume that we're kind of gonna touch on and go over. Michael Scott's resume looks good up here, right? Looks good in person. But unfortunately, some of those larger companies are using ATS systems or applicant tracking systems. Michael Scott's resume is not easily accessible for those systems to pull your information from. One of my previous employers used this, and as someone that did sourcing and recruiting, the amount of empty blank spots that you would do to pull up and look at an individual, spending my 10 to 30 seconds, they're not pulling it. This is a beautiful resume. It's great. I totally love it. I think it's fantastic, but it's getting overlooked. The one on the right, while it doesn't look super pretty, it has everything that's on here. White space, it's clear, it's got measurable results, keywords. It's easy for that system to pull. Now, let's take it from a Virginia Tech side. We don't have an ATS system at Virginia Tech. We use our eyes. We're humans that are looking at your resume. So I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into these other aspects. Michael Scott's resume, well, yeah, it looks pretty. It's got a lot of white space. But if we really start looking about it and talking about the details that are on there, he doesn't really have keywords. He's not diving into measurable results. His skills are just very basic. It's just surface level. How are you standing out? How's Michael Scott standing out when there's 150 applicants that he's competing against for one job? Whereas this one, I'm able to look through and see they have certifications. They list out in detail a little bit more. It's got more information on each of their professional experiences. Additional skills are great, but he gave himself plenty of room to really talk about what's going on in his work environment. So these are some things that might seem simple and easy, but they have kind of lasting results. And obviously, proofread. You can't see up there, there's some misspellings on Michael, Dunder Mifflin, Michael Scott. Yeah, so. Also some things to kind of talk about with your resume is if you've had to take a break. It's okay to show that. Every resume is going to be a little different. Every resume is going to be unique, and that's where we reference our brag board again. We get that back out, and we talk about and highlight all those things. If you're staying home and being a caretaker, right, you're scheduling appointments, you're juggling another person's schedule, you are taking time out to not only handle that person, but maybe you're juggling your family. It's okay to tell people that. It's okay to showcase that. But if you have it on your brag board and you have the skills, you can be able to tie that into what job you're applying for. Don't be afraid. I mean, I will tell you, I was nervous getting back into the workforce. I took 9 years off. It was scary. I'm like, what do I have to show for myself, right? I have a lot. I volunteered my time. I did a lot of things, and I put that on my resume. I took that from my brag board. That's great. Make sure you're adding those things on there. So we're going to use Hokie Bird as a deeper example, right? I love Hokie Bird. Obviously, I'm dressed like Hokie Bird today. So I used Hokie Bird as an example. Hokie Bird's brag board that we just had. Hokie Bird's had all these great, wonderful accomplishments. But Hokie Bird is tired of working in fan development, right? Hokie Bird is tired of being a recruiter and wants to try something different and new. So Hokie Bird finds this role, Associate Director of Enrollment Management at Virginia Tech. Hokie Bird obviously bleeds orange and maroon, so he wants to stick around, but he wants a little career pivot. So Hokie Bird finds this job, this active job. This is active and live on our job site at Virginia Tech right now. So it's an actual role that's open. I took a snapshot of some of the key takeaways from a very long job description with a lot of details. So Hokie Bird is going to sit down and take away some highlights, some keywords that stand out to him from this resume, or from this job description. Recruitment, advising, retention. He's like, oh man, this is all on my brag board. I can relate to this. These are all things that I do, right? Enrollment strategies, managing a budget, communication strategies, all these wonderful things. So Hokie Bird's sitting there highlighting all of these things. And then we get down to what's on the job application for required and preferred qualifications. At Virginia Tech, when we put required qualifications, we mean it. Some other companies maybe are a little more relaxed about those things. If you don't have all of those required qualifications standing out on your resume within 30 seconds, you're not standing out at the top of that 150 applicant pool, right? So HokieBird is sitting here going, okay, what are the keywords? Well, a master's degree. HokieBird has that. That was on his other resume from Virginia Tech. But he also has leadership experience, academic unit at the university. HokieBird's also done enrollment strategies. Well, that stands out to me. Recruitment, retention, career development. Those are all things that HokieBird has done in previous careers, right? So we're taking keywords from a current job that you're looking for and comparing it to your brag board and seeing what stands out. So now we're going to dive a little bit deeper, and we're going to pull up, well, we're going to talk about our impacts, but we're going to pull up a portion of that resume, a portion of your brag board, a portion of your master resume. And right now, HokieBird has listed under recruiter, because he's a recruiter mascot at Virginia Tech currently. He has, I just picked 4 bullet points because I was trying to limit time. He's got kind of some basic information on his brag board, but he doesn't have really impactful, knowledgeable, standout bullet points that a recruiter is going to sit there and say, yes, you have all of these things on that requirement qualification. So these are kind of 4 main things to focus on when you're retweaking your resume and really modifying it to a job that you're applying for. You're taking your brag board and you're pulling out all of those great assets and things that you've done. You need to make sure, right, metrics. Everyone loves numbers. I don't care what field you're in. If you're showing impact, you need to show your metrics and your numbers. Make sure you're including that on your brag board. Keywords, not buzzwords. Keywords are those keywords from that job description that stand out that are also being shown directly in your resume and in your bullet points. I'm going to skip the action-oriented because I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. Transferable skills. Skills that apply, your abilities that apply across different roles. Your brag board. You might have worked in healthcare many years ago. HokieBird was in the Army. You can take what you've learned and transfer those skills, showcase those skills, those leadership skills, those communication, those organization skills, and transfer them into showcasing that into your new industry or new role. So the last thing that I really wanted to touch on, because it kind of pulls in all of those, is an action-oriented bullet point. We're always told lead with a verb, right? An action verb. But what does that really mean? And a great way of doing this, and it's kind of more methodical, so some people think it's a little bit easier to talk about themselves this way, is using a car story, a challenge, action, and result. Showcasing that in each one of your bullet points. Really narrowing in. So taking that brag board, pulling out some key features, and then diving deeper into our car story. So you can kind of see basic resume bullet points, right? And then we went in and added cars. But I want to just highlight the last bullet point on each one. Helped improve onboarding to support employee satisfaction. Cool, great. That's an awesome thing to do. Does that tell me, though, maybe what a challenge was, or how your action, or gave you a metric or a measurable result? No. So you're just kind of floating to a recruiter like, well, yeah, they did that. Yeah, okay, they meet that. But if you dive deeper and you reword and reformulate your bullet point into more of an action-oriented, right? It sounds and looks that you've made more of an impact at your organization. Developed and monitored onboarding program metrics, enhancing new hire retention by 20% through data-informed adjustments to orientation sessions. Same thing. It says the same thing. It's just a much deeper dive. Yeah. Time. Oh, sorry, guys. See, this is where I talk too much about it. Okay, HokieBird lands the interview. I can sit here and talk about this for so long. These are some key interview takeaways. The biggest thing I can tell you is using the STAR method in effective storytelling. Situation, task, action, and result. Most of your interviews, you're going to have behavioral questions, right? So I picked a behavioral question. Here is Hokie Bird's ineffective response. We'll just touch on this. You want to make sure that you're really diving into a situation, explaining a conflict at work and how you handled it, diving into a situation, showcasing your task, having an action, right? Scheduling a one-on-one conversation. So this person and I they were arriving late. What was the task? We needed to address this issue. What did I do? I scheduled a one-on-one conversation with this person. This is you talking during the interview and giving your description. You want to get into the nitty-gritty details of what you did, how you did it, and the most important thing that a lot of people leave off is your result. So make sure that you're telling why or what happened. Performer began arriving on time because we worked together to find solutions, right? And then what that experience taught you. I will say for networking, it kind of goes in to making sure you have a great LinkedIn profile. I'm really speeding up. Sorry, I can talk about this for too long, I think. Connecting with contacts here today. You never know the people that you're going to meet, right? You never know who you're going to run into later on in life that you haven't seen in 10 or 20 years. Make sure that you have a great LinkedIn profile. Make sure that you're actually commenting, talking, and sharing information. Make sure that your profile picture is professional and up to date. And making sure that you're genuine and authentic. And I think that that's the other big thing when you're interviewing as well, showing your authenticity and your genuine nature of who you are, but also making sure that you are really diving deep into your examples and showcasing how you solved a problem. So now I'm going to end it. I will be happy to meet and talk more about all of these wonderful things. Sorry, it's really hard. But I want you to keep growing and keep learning. And I'm going to turn it over to Sarah to talk about professional development.
Okay.
Yep, sorry.
Why don't you go ahead and play the video?
Oh, was it supposed to have sound? We didn't talk about sound.
That's okay.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
I'm gonna come to the mic. All right. So the reason why I brought up this video, you probably have seen this before, but it is something just always great to think about the visual of life. Things knock you down, you get back up. You keep going, you might get to the top, and you might fall down again. And you just keep going. If you ever happen to, we will have a QR code at our table, and there may be one at the end of the slideshow. This video is linked. It does have beautiful music to it. But it is something that I felt was important for us to be able to see and think about. Because we may feel like we're falling down and just getting lower, but we'll keep going back up, and we'll keep rising to the top. That top, that success, that's defined by you. Do you know what you want to be, where you want to be? Have you defined that yet? If you haven't, that's okay. I'm still working on that. Told you, I went back to school. I'm still trying to figure that out. Where do I want to go next? I don't know because technology is changing. So I'm planning on defining my own. What my next job is going to look like? Don't know. All right, I have a couple of quick questions for you. We're also going to do the raise the hand. Raise your hand if you almost always talk to people in elevators, airplanes, grocery stores, and wherever you go. Come on, bring it up there. All right. These are great networking people, by the way. But it's okay. One-on-one is also all right. What about having a color-coded or otherwise organized closet? Could be all your winter stuff together or all your, yep, okay. What about writing down a list of things to do and sticking to it? All right. Anybody a Post-it person? I'm a Post-it person because I can throw that away. Make a list of things to do on weekends. Achievement. Need to pick someone to race while driving. Who raced here? Come on. Be honest. All right. And ask too many questions. I want to know why something's going on, why something is happening. All of these things relate to some of the inherent ways we have of working. These are things to think about as you compile your resume and some of the actions and takeaways and lessons learned when you share your stories. My mother coached me on my interview, and this is something Ashley can relate to. So I had one task in the office that I worked for that I thought was just such a small thing because it didn't take very long. That was I bought fruit for the office for the week. My mom said, well, in that task, what do? You have a budget. I had $10 to buy fruit for 15 people. You had to account for seasons. You had to account for tastes. And it had to be sustainable. It had to last all week. And so when you break down something so small like buying fruit into those steps, a lot of you make a list of things to do. What are those steps? Put those on the brag board so that you remember when you go for that interview. Oh, and mind you, this one, I use this, which is push the elevator button to remind the elevator that you are there. I almost forgot this one. I use this for the walk signal. It's telling me, wait, 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 but that doesn't matter. I'm still pressing the button. Does anybody do that? Yeah, all right, a few of us. All of this, I really just wanted to mention that why we do the things that we do often have to do with our values. The how we do the things we do often happen to do with the experiences that we've had in the workplace, at home, growing up. When you got told no, you changed how you did something, and that has laid pathways in your brain. So, what is your vision? Has to do with the combination of how you work and why you do it. So that why, that deep piece, that's something that I want you to figure out today. And this is one of the few things that I really want you to think about, is why do you do what you want to do? What is your contribution so that your impact, so to help others so that they figure out what they want to do with their lives. That's mine. It's very short, it's very simple, but it's very impactful. And that tells me what jobs am I looking to find when I go on job boards. What is the type of contribution I want to make so that there's an outcome that impact? I would give you a few seconds, but I really want you to think about this. Remember, Ashley had you schedule time for your self-care. Make that part of it, because that's important. When you go through and you think about how you want to get to where you want to go, build a plan. A lot of you said, I make a list and I stick to it. This is building that same plan and sticking to it. Assess your current state. What are those strengths that you bring, those durable skills? And we call them durable, transferable. It's all the same thing. What are those technical and soft skills that you bring because you've built them with every job, with every interaction that you've had with people? Establish those short and long-term goals. Short, meaning what do you want to do in the next year to 2, and long-term, 3 to 4. I'm not even talking 5. Things are changing too rapidly. And identify those skills, knowledge, abilities, and opportunities that you can put out there on your calendar to take advantage of and obtain, and then reflect on that and how you're going to apply it, and then update and repeat your resume and go back through this. Now, I know we are almost at time, so I really want to make sure that you get a chance to talk to us later at the table as well. With the QR code comes these questions. So it will prompt you on those. It's the talent development workbook in that long list. And finally, I want to thank you very much for joining us today. I know we did not get to the Q&A, so if you have Q's, we have A's, so come see us at our table downstairs. This is your story, your pathway. And we are always happy to help you figure that out. Sorry, QR code, next slide. Want to make sure you have this.
Thank you everyone for coming. We're going to give our presenters gifts. I thank them. Just want to thank you all for presenting to us today. Of course, meet them at their resource table if you have any questions for them.